I'm Amanda Glassner, Deputy Editor at Cybercrime Magazine. I'm here today with Samantha Feuer, Principal on the investment team at Evolution Equity Partners. Also joining us is Kathy Hughes, Vice President and CISO at Northwell Health, New York's largest healthcare provider led by over 85,000 employees. Evolution TV is brought to you by Evolution Equity Partners, an international venture capital investor partnering with exceptional entrepreneurs to develop market-leading cybersecurity and enterprise software companies. To learn more about Evolution Equity Partners, visit evolutionequity.com. Samantha, Kathy, welcome.
Great to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Kathy, to get started, can you tell us about your role and Northwell Health for anyone who isn't familiar with the organization?
I am the Chief Information Security Officer, and I'm responsible for all the cybersecurity tools and technologies, the IT risk management program, and the disaster recovery program.
Samantha, it's great to have you on with us because we are major supporters of women in cyber, and we are constantly conveying the message that there are so many different opportunities in our field, and the positions aren't always technical. You are a great example of that. So, can you tell us about your background and what you do at Evolution?
My journey into the field really started at Stanford, where I was mentored by some leading experts in the field that encouraged me to dig into the complexities of national security. So I did some research, tracking nation-state APT groups, identifying patterns in their tactics and techniques. That really gave me exposure to a more technical understanding, but also a front row seat to the evolving landscape of cyber threats. I also spent some time at Darktrace, witnessed firsthand how cybersecurity is fundamental in shaping economies and industries in a way that few other sectors are. And then with that background, made that leap into cyber investing. I started on the West Coast before moving to New York with Evolution. And my role as principal on the investment team allows me to evaluate some of the most promising cybersecurity startups, working with global visionary founders who are building the next generation companies and identifying market-leading solutions that are helping to defend and protect what matters most.
Kathy, going back in time a little bit, as far back as you can take us, can you tell us about the representation of women in cyber in earlier times compared to what it looks like today?
Cybersecurity in and of itself is fairly new, a new focus area for many organizations. Primarily, people that are in this field came from the technical side of the house, meaning they worked on network teams and server teams, help desk, field support, those types of roles. And just out of evolution, got involved with cybersecurity, and that's when the field really opened up. And that's when you saw primarily men in this field, just because of that transition at the time. But now it's different. Times have changed. The field is drawing people directly into it. We're going to continue to see that type of shift over time as more women and men get more familiar with what cybersecurity is, because I think there is somewhat of a misperception that it's just a technical type of job. As we even touched upon already, there's a different side to it. And I think as people understand that more and get more exposure, that we'll continue to see a shift and more women entering the field. What I will add to that is our chief digital officer is a woman, and so she came from a very diverse background, has had many roles, and also has certifications in cybersecurity. So it's nice to also have her as a mentor and a leader in our organization.
Samantha, similarly, if you can think back to cybersecurity startups that you've worked with and watching the market in general in your position, are you seeing more women founders and executives and the number of women holding these positions in our industry increasing?
Yes, I mean, I concur with Kathy on a lot of this. I think even in the last 5 years, there's been more of a shift. And, it has been traditionally male dominated, but we are seeing more women enter those leadership roles, particularly founders as well as executives. And obviously, Kathy is a great example of that as well. And even in our own portfolio, we're seeing some great trends with women entering the executive seats or being founders themselves. But I think it kind of extends to, Kathy's earlier point, to not just these technical roles, but also key decision-making roles, other operational roles, finance roles. And I do think cyber's so much of a specific industry with a lot of institutional knowledge that, whether you're working in marketing, sales, or so on, you still need that underlying understanding of cybersecurity. That's really a unique skill set if you enter this field.
Kathy, we touched on this before with you mentioning the women in leadership positions in Northwell, but according to Cybersecurity Ventures, women make up around 30% of people in cybersecurity now. And when it comes to CISOs at Fortune 500 companies, that number drops to nearly half of the representation at just 17% in those positions. In our last count, only 85 women held CISO positions within the Fortune 500. So, what is your opinion on this? Are we still lagging behind in this area? And if yes, why and what can be done about it?
I think it is still lagging, but there's been tremendous progress. I think part of that is due to, what I mentioned earlier, that just initially when cybersecurity became an area of focus for many organizations, there was just this natural transition or progression from the highly technical roles over to cyber. And that has changed and continues to change. A part of what's contributed to that, of where we are today, is that, women in particular have a tendency to go to college, get their education, get experience, work for a while. But then many women do take breaks from the career force. And I think we're seeing that reflected now in cybersecurity field, whether it's to raise a family, become a caregiver, whatever the reasons. There's a variety of reasons that women have more of a tendency to do that. And so when they come back into the career world, into the workforce, because this is such a new area, and you can become very outdated very quickly. You have to really stay on top of things. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving. So I think, that's part of the reason that we're still seeing a bit of a lag in a lot of technical fields because women have a tendency more to kind of take that break before they reenter. Personally, I did not, I did not have a family. So I've always been in the career in the workforce and have just been given opportunities and increased my education over time, certifications, advanced degrees, and all that. That was my choice. But I think now people who are entering the workforce do hear about cybersecurity. Can't turn on the TV anymore without hearing about some type of a breach or an event. And I think it sparked a lot of curiosity by people. They want to understand more. What is it all about? And I think getting the word out that it's not only about, analyzing data logs, right, and trying to find rocks and anomalous type of activity in computers and things like that, that there's also the softer side, the soft skills that are needed. You need to be a critical thinker. You need to be a problem solver. You need to be an effective communicator. You need to be smart. You need to know how to prioritize. You need to know how to manage your own work activities and be able to think on your feet. And these are skills that men and women have the ability to be strong at and to develop over time. So I think, now I've seen lots of webinars and spoken to a lot of people at conferences and different meetings that I've gone to, other organizations. And, I think there's more of an acknowledgement about the skills that are really needed in this field. And I think that in itself is starting to attract people to this field.
Samantha, you touched on cybersecurity startups before, but when it comes to everything Kathy just said, taking into account executive management and your watching of the market in general, do you see less women compared to positions further down the organizational chart?
Before I get into it, I'd actually like to address something Kathy mentioned before, which is that the cybersecurity market and cybersecurity as an industry is always changing. Keeping up with the techniques and tactics, especially with the introduction of AI, makes it an incredibly diverse and rich field. And I think that what this actually creates in my mind is an opportunity, particularly for the next generation. It's a field where the old traditional tactics of the past that might be passed down through traditional industries doesn't necessarily apply to this industry in the same way. Obviously, it's always good to learn from people who have been in, the seat longer than you. I'm not saying that. But I think also at the same time, it's a great opportunity for the next generation to really stay on top of the latest tactics and trends and really, forge their path in this industry for both men and women. But particularly to your question about the executive management, look, I think there is still a noticeable gap when it comes to women in executive management roles in cybersecurity startups. We are seeing more women in technical, operation, and mid-level positions, but the higher on the org chart you go, the less you tend to find. As Kathy mentioned, this is due to a myriad of reasons. But the good news is that there's a real shift happening, and we do see it. More organizations are recognizing the importance of diverse leadership that drives innovation, and we're seeing more women make their way into those executives roles. I think it's very important for the next generation of cyber professionals to use a well-known phrase, you can't be what you can't see. And so I think it's very important for that next generation to see women in those positions. There's still work to be done, but the momentum is there, and it's exciting to watch that change unfold.
Kathy, going off of what Samantha was just saying about if you can't be it, you can't see it. How important is it, in your opinion, to raise awareness about cybersecurity careers for young girls starting in elementary school or even middle school?
You can't turn on the TV nowadays anymore or watch a show. There's a lot of these shows that younger generation watches have themes of cybersecurity and the bad guys behind the computers with the hoodies on and all that. So they're aware, they're seeing it. I think it is creating interest, and they want to learn more about it, and understand it more to see if it's something for them. Because when you're young and just trying to explore and understand what might be available out there, it does spark interest. And in order for to attract young people, you have to spark interest. So I think it's kind of, a good thing that there are these shows, albeit dramatic, that do raise that awareness in younger folks and make them want to look into the field as potentially something for them. And I think the biggest message out there is really explaining what the true skills are, and that there's so many different opportunities in cybersecurity. It's not like building a server. Like, for example, if you're a server engineer, you're building a server. Cybersecurity has so many different avenues. What's nice is that they can explore all of them, and that's why a lot of the certification programs, training, and education that's out there does expose people to all the different areas that perhaps they wouldn't think would be associated with cybersecurity. So I think creating that awareness, whether it's through TV shows or just learning what's happening in the news, and the classes that are being offered and certifications that are now being offered in schools and just in organizations that specialize in this, are really starting to draw and attract people to the field. But it is a slow, lengthy process. I also think that it's very commonly understood and very well publicized that there's a real talent shortage out there. There's opportunity for career there. And I think that alone attracts people to the field too. And understanding that if you're the a type of person that likes to be challenged and likes to figure things out and solve puzzles and think outside the box and not just do the same repetitive task day after day, that this is a potential field for you to get into. So I think between the demand that there is out there, cybersecurity needs you. We need people in this field. We're growing, expanding. It's exciting. There's opportunity, has really created a lot of interest in this field. And as Samantha said, we're starting to see a shift, but it takes a while. And I think that it's something that isn't quite where we want it to be, and as commonplace as somebody wanting to be a teacher or a fireman or policeman when they grow up. Young people typically won't say, "I want to be a cybersecurity professional when I grow up." And the challenge is making that the common household name and a type of opportunity that attracts people to the field.
Jumping off that, as we said before, working in cybersecurity with so many open positions, not all of them are technical. So, shifting gears a little bit to talk about one important position, a CMO or a chief marketing officer. Women are very well represented in these positions at cybersecurity companies. Samantha, why do you think that is, and how important is it for us to shine a light on this?
To start off with, I think, anyone can learn anything. And so I do think that it would be great to see women in all aspects of an organization. But to your point, I think women have historically been really strong communicators and storytellers, which is especially valuable in marketing. I think cyber marketing in particular is particularly challenging because it requires the ability to distill very complex technical concepts for diverse audiences while also illustrating differentiation for startups. Cyber marketing is not just about, I think, promoting a product. It's about having the flexibility to bring technology, sales, vision, creativity into this cohesive message that resonates with buyers. I think, obviously shining a light on that representation is crucial as it is in all functions. I think it sets a powerful example for future leaders, showing that leadership in cybersecurity, as we've all said, isn't confined to technical positions, but is broad and inclusive. And I think we're at a really great inflection point where the industry can do more as a whole to promote several career paths in cyber. At least at Evolution, we do really prioritize diversity, and women are well represented at multiple career stages across key functions, including the investment team, investor relations, finance, and operations.
Kathy, what is your message to anyone, not just women and girls, who is potentially interested in a cybersecurity career?
To really take the time to understand the different opportunities that are available because we really need you. And I think that that's a very important message is to really get to understand the field. There's multiple ways to do that. Everything's online now. You can basically look up anything that you want to on the field. There's also multiple training curriculums out there that don't even cost money that people could potentially tap into. And the one thing that I wanted to build upon that Samantha said is the opportunity and the use of AI. Everybody hears about AI and how that is really transformational in every industry and in every type of job position out there. With the advent of AI, those tools and technologies are much more efficient. So you're not doing as much, I'll say, grunt work and pulling information together. The tool's doing that for you, and so you're really using your time more effectively and efficiently to analyze the data, and so you can make decisions. So again, focusing on the opportunity that's there to learn more about even how AI is actually helping to advance cybersecurity, encouraging people to learn more about it and to take courses and dive into it and really see if it's the right opportunity for them. And then ultimately, everybody has to make their own decisions and be attracted and get into a field that really interests them. You have to like what you do and do what you like, right? You need to have that. And I think this is a field, honestly, that I fell into because of my background and just opportunity there. And I absolutely love it and encourage everybody to get involved in it.
Samantha, taking everything into consideration that we've discussed today and sitting here listening to Kathy, who is a large enterprise CISO, what is your takeaway?
I think my takeaway, particularly about this subject of more diverse workplaces, is that the doors are open, is what I'm hearing from Kathy, and that the opportunities are abundant. And I think we're certainly seeing that as well from the startups that we evaluate. And I think even just seeing the amount of functions that Kathy has under her, both in technical aspects, but also non-technical. Every day we evaluate startups that say they do, vulnerability management or identity or cloud security. And even just that segmentation of the market just shows you how many potential roles there can be. And so I think that we're at a great point. I think we've got leaders like Kathy who are helping everyone and educating everyone to find a great career path and opportunity in the cybersecurity sector.
Thank you both so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Evolution TV is brought to you by Evolution Equity Partners, an international venture capital investor partnering with exceptional entrepreneurs to develop market-leading cybersecurity and enterprise software companies. To learn more about Evolution Equity Partners, visit evolutionequity.com. For more of our media, visit our website at cybersecurityventures.com.